It's now time for an official Rachel Maddow Show Conspiracy Theory Special Report. By now, we are all familiar with the birthers who claim that President Obama is a Kenyan-born Manchurian candidate. Despite the release of the president's birth certificate, the birthers continue to demand the release of the president's birth certificate. And of course, we've also become acquainted with the deathers who claim the president's publicly stated desire to reform health care is actually a front for his secret desire to kill everybody's grandparents. Beyond promoting those two corrosive theories, the right-wing website worldnetdaily.com has recently expanded its already extensive conspiracy theory repertoire by suggesting that a Democratic proposal to beef up relief efforts during natural disasters is actually a secret plan to set up, quote, concentration camps for political dissidents, such as occurred in Nazi Germany. Okay, aside from the obvious, what's additionally annoying about this new achievement of excellence in wingnuttery is that we now have to come up with a name for its adherents. Concentration campers doesn't really roll off the tongue like birthers or deathers. What's different and potentially politically significant about this new, as yet unnamed concentration camp conspiracy theory is that it has prompted a forceful pushback from at least one prominent voice on the political right. After WorldNet Daily published its concentration camp theory, conservative blogger John Henke responded on The Next Right, a website he co-founded, saying, quote, this is just hideously embarrassing for the right. I think it's time to figure out what conservative libertarian organizations support WND through advertising, list rental, or other commercial collaboration, and boycott any of those organizations that will not renounce any further support for WorldNet Daily. Inside America's conservative ranks, that call to action has thus far started something slightly bigger than a skirmish, but I would definitely say smaller than a war. Here to find out now more about it is John Henke. John, thanks very much for venturing across no man's land into what might be considered enemy territory to be with us tonight. I really look forward to the chance to talk to you about this.
Thank you for having me.
You have called the founder of WorldNet Daily, Joseph Farah, a demagogue who appeals to our baser instincts. You've described the site itself as the fevered swamps. What's your overall beef with WorldNet Daily?
WorldNet Daily they traffic in the paranoid conspiracy theories that take away from our ability to discuss the more important issues. They feed people with perhaps what they want to hear instead of actual facts, and they justify it by saying we're just reporting what people are saying. For example, they say, well, we're not saying the birth certificate is actually fake. We're just saying that some people say the birth certificate is fake, or that we're concerned, or that we want to see more evidence. Of course, if you're not willing to listen to an answer, then even credible, legitimate questions cease to become credible and legitimate, and they have not listened to answers. They tear down the intellectual foundations of the right, and they take away from our ability to discuss much more important things.
What do you think is their motivation for doing so? Clearly, they're getting attention for putting out this more outlandish stuff, but they are not seen as particularly credible.
I think they probably genuinely believe in what they're doing. I'm sorry to say.
That's scary.
And let me add, my point is not so much to say that people should boycott WorldNet Daily or that they should be shut down. I don't think it's very fruitful to argue with people who are wrong on the Internet. There are no end of those people. What we need to argue with are the credible organizations, the credible people, or the people who should be respected, who are associating with them, and urge them not to be associated with the disgraceful organizations.
Among the groups that you have urged to at least disclose its full association with WorldNet Daily, if not cut ties with them altogether, is the Republican National Committee. You've raised concerns that they appear to be purchasing email lists from WorldNet Daily, essentially targeting their message to WorldNet Daily's audience and paying the organization, paying the website money in order to do so. How has the Republican Party responded to your charges in that area?
They, in response to repeated inquiries, responded once and then blew me off after that. Their one response was to point to a news article weeks prior that did not address this whatsoever. They have been completely silent, and I'm very disappointed about that.
You're concerned about the Republican National Committee and other purportedly mainstream organizations, right, sort of flirting with or making alliances with what you see as this fringe group because you think that undercuts the legitimacy of these mainstream groups, or because you think it elevates the fringe?
Actually, both would be true. I think we have a problem where the Republican Party, The Economist made this point late last year, the Republican Party has abandoned the intellectual foundation, has abandoned intellect and the elites that actually deserve to be elites because they are the credible thinkers, the Buckleys, the Kirks of our side. And they have turned to the WorldNet dailies and the people who sell conspiracy theories and fear and frankly, the fever swamps.
I will say that as a liberal, I was interested in your critique, I'll tell you honestly, because I feel like it's really important for our country to have a good, solid, honest left-right debate and a good, solid, honest partisan debate. And I'm concerned about what I see as the devolution of the craft of argument and adherence to the facts on the right. And that's why it resonated with me. But I'm wondering what sort of reaction you've had on the right from fellow conservatives to your critique.
I have had mixed reaction. Probably a third of people, mostly privately, unfortunately, have told me they support it. They think this is we're doing God's work. We're doing the important thing in rescuing the party from those lunatic fringes, from the fevered swamps. A third of people have said, yes, they probably agree, but it's not their fight, and they want to focus on democratic issues right now, and fine. And perhaps a third of people have actually taken what I think is a no enemies on the right stance and said they're on our side. They're taking shots at the Obama administration. Lay off. And I'm very disappointed by that. But actually, I'm disappointed by that in every respect. The left certainly has not buried their truther fringe. The left has not turned on them. Who on the left was supporting Van Jones being removed from the White House or resigning from the White House? I'm part of the problem because before the Iraq War, I was focusing on the truthers and the war for oil crowd and forgot to focus on some of the more important issues. You're part of the problem because instead of focusing on the important entitlement issues and fiscal issues, you're focusing on WorldNet Daily and the birthers. And so the right needs to clean its own house. So I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I will stop talking about truthers and worry about cleaning the right's house if you'll start talking about WorldNet Daily and the birthers and support Van Jones leaving.
I don't make deals with anybody about what I cover. And B, my position on Van Jones is irrelevant because I've never covered him at all because I never thought that he was of interest until he resigned under pressure from what I see as the unhinged right. Your activism against the unhinged right is what makes your point of view of interest and what makes me hope that you'll come back on the show and have another good, long civil debate with me, John.
Thank you.
All right. John Hanke, co-founding editor of thenextright.com. Much appreciate your presence on the show tonight.